Have you ever wondered how life works? The simplest answer is chemistry. But what does that mean? I'm sure most people watching this video have seen clips like this, animations showing DNA and molecules functioning. It looks incomprehensibly complicated and almost magical. So, how does it all operate? Well, it all comes down to one universal constant: stability. All matter in the universe wants, for lack of a better term, one thing: to be as stable and low energy as possible. A chemical reaction is, in basic terms, atoms sharing or swapping electrons to try to become as stable as possible. In doing so, atoms will combine with others, break from others, and in the process, forming new compounds. When you mix baking soda and vinegar together, what you see is molecules breaking up and recombining simply because they want to be more stable and low energy. The laws of nature almost compels matter to end up in its lowest energy state. Like if you put a ball on a hill, it will roll to the bottom of that hill due to gravity, in a way lowering its potential energy. Radioactivity is another example of this. Atoms release energy in the form of photons or particles to lower its energy state, decaying into more stable atoms. This effect of matter seeking out neutrality and stability by finding its lowest energy state is the spark that drives life. How does DNA work? DNA is a very long, tightly wound molecule made up of interlocking parts. These parts are called nucleotides. Each nucleotide is made up of joined nucleobases. Terran DNA, as found on Earth, has 4: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, with a 5th, known as uracil, found in RNA. These are how DNA codes information. DNA does not store information like a digital format. It stores information more analog, like a phonograph record versus an SSD. Let's look at how DNA in a cell is used to create a protein. The DNA first needs to create a strand of messenger RNA, or mRNA. In the nucleus, a substance known as RNA polymerase, along with proteins known as transcription factors, bind to the DNA in a specific location. There is no thought or conscious action here. What's happening is the polymerase wants to be more stable, so it attaches to the DNA in a specific location because it's attracted to it like a magnet. Once it attaches, its charge changes, resulting in the shape of the molecule to change as well, as the new charge causes the atoms to repel and attract at different levels. The transcription factors also bind and change the charge of the molecules and its structure. Because of this, the DNA then unwinds down the center of the helix, exposing the ends of the nucleobases. Again, this is because the electrical charge and energy level of the molecule has changed, so the atoms move and behave the way they do simply because they want to find stability. As the DNA moves through the polymerase, bits of nucleobases floating around attach to the polymerase and are then joined to matching nucleobases on the DNA. When a nucleobase bonds, its charge changes. An RNA sugar phosphate backbone also joins the nucleobases in this process. When a section of RNA is created, the charge and energy state of the molecule is changed, and it detaches from the polymerase. Once the mRNA molecule is finished, it detaches fully, and the polymerase goes off to continue this process when it once again attaches to the DNA. In the cell, a structure known as a ribosome bonds to the mRNA. The mRNA moves through the ribosome, and molecules known as tRNA binds to the exposed nucleobases. Each tRNA attaches to 3 nucleobases. This is known as a single codon. Each codon and tRNA have complementary structures, so the tRNA will only bind to a specific codon through hydrogen bonding. When the tRNA binds with a codon, its charge changes. The amino acid atop the codon also bonds to the amino acid beside it. This change in charge makes the molecules detach. The amino acid is now repelled by the tRNA, and the tRNA now has a different charge, making it less stable, so it also separates. The ribosome also impacts this process, but the basics is molecules touching one another changes their structure through a reaction and thus changes how they behave. I want to pause here for a second to say I might not have explained this perfectly well, but again, the long and short of it is life is a chemical reaction, and proteins are coded through a series of chemical reactions through compounds and enzymes interacting with each other because atoms just do that. As this process continues, a chain of specific amino acids is formed that then breaks off, and it then goes on to be crumpled up into a specific shape. That's basically how life works. Every protein, hormone, compound in your body that allows you to live and exist is thanks to atoms attracting and repelling each other based on electrical charges and composition, sharing electrons, stealing electrons, basic chemical reaction stuff. What's amazing about this is we are all basically just complex, non-stop chemical reactions that started 3.7 billion years ago and are still going on today. Flex your arm. The chemical reactions in your muscle cells that results in the muscle fibers contracting is linked to an unbroken chemical reaction that started 3.7 billion years ago somewhere in Earth's oceans. In a simplistic way, we are that cup of baking soda and vinegar, spanning eons of time and all connected in an unbroken biological tapestry. The electrical charges of my DNA is the same as your DNA. My proteins are the same as your proteins. And if we go back a few thousand years, regardless of your ethnicity or location on the planet, my ancestors are your ancestors. Biology really is the closest thing to magic you'll ever encounter. Thanks to matter wanting to reach a low energy state, the universe gave rise to entities that are essentially just chemical reactions with anxiety.